today I will be discussing on something very important, migration and diversity. And I'm not just here alone. I'm here with somebody who is very important, who is here to share a story, who is here to tell us about what her migration experience has been. And I hope that you enjoy every bit of what we're going to discuss today. So, this is an important discussion for the modern Sheffield. And my guest here is someone who is beautiful, as you can see. She looks amazing, and she's here to share experience today. So can you please tell us your name and a little about yourself?
So my name is Ethel Mageda.
Beautiful name.
Thank you. I'm from Zimbabwe originally, but I've been living here in Sheffield now for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I do community work and work with refugees and asylum seekers, and also do some community education work.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's amazing. So from what you've said now, before you moved to Sheffield, was Sheffield somewhere you had in mind, or you just happened to find yourself in Sheffield on moving to the UK?
That is very interesting because although in Zimbabwe we do a lot of world history in school, we learn a lot of world history. Yeah. I knew about the United Kingdom, Zimbabwe being a former colony of the UK, and I knew some cities, London, Manchester, because of football and that kind of thing. But Sheffield, I'd not heard of.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, so I came here in 2005 as an asylum seeker. So I didn't choose Sheffield.
Okay.
Sheffield chose me. Or I was, as they call it, dispersed to Sheffield.
So when you moved to the UK, Sheffield was the very first place?
I was for 3 months in Barnsley,
Okay.
which is in South Yorkshire still,
Yeah.
and then moved to Sheffield after.
Okay. Okay, beautiful. So did you see Sheffield becoming more diverse over time? You've been here for about 20 years, so have you seen Sheffield evolve? Or how would you describe what the growth has been over the years like in Sheffield?
That is an interesting question. Yes, I think there have been some changes. When I first came,
Yeah.
and I got the first council house that I was housed in, I was moved to a place called Low Edges,
Okay.
which was at that time considered to be a very white area.
Okay.
But over time, I've since moved on to other parts of Sheffield now. But over time, even that area has become more diverse. And Sheffield itself, when I walk on the streets,
Yeah.
we should bear in mind that there are 2 universities, so there's always going to be some level of diversity. But also the communities outside the city, when I walk there and I visit there, I can perceive diverse growth in diversity,
Yeah.
even in the suburbs or in the outlying areas. But also because, like I said, I've worked in with organizations that work with refugees and asylum seekers, so I'm quite aware of what the figures are in Sheffield, but also just there are other people that come here for different reasons as well. So Sheffield is a place that attracts a lot of migration and migrant people to it from different parts of the world.
Okay, beautiful. So in the course of all you just said, you mentioned communities. And my question would be, how do you think that new communities have shaped this city called Sheffield over the years?
A lot of things have changed. So first of all, I'll talk about food because it's the easiest thing to talk. It's the easiest thing it's the easiest place to start. I would say 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to find a restaurant selling jollof rice.
Interesting.
Or some other North African food, injera, meals, Ethiopian food, Eritrean food, the same as supermarkets, shops that sell clothes that cater for different styles from different countries. There's a lot more of these, more and more of these, and it makes Sheffield beautiful and interesting. And you see a little shop selling some clothes or something, and you go in and you're like, oh, what is this? And they say, oh, it's Ethiopian such and such, and you're like, oh, wow. So there's a visible change that happens in terms of the business, who walks on the street, who's your neighbor, what languages you hear people speaking on their phones as you pass them. The market, what market stalls are now in the market are so diverse, and there's, you know, food from Asia, different parts of Asia, different parts of the world, and that's very visible.
Oh, interesting. You know, while you were talking, something just crossed my mind, and I remember having a conversation with someone, and I was in the car with a person on that particular day, and the person was like, oh, this particular area is dominated by Asians, right? So, in the period of time that you've stayed in Sheffield, do you think that the communities of people that have moved here from other races have created their own small communities here in Sheffield in some form or something?
That's an interesting conversation, because that's something that I'm very much interested in being part of. How, for example, the local authority houses people, or where they choose to house people. Because sometimes people in authority think they're being helpful. This is what I think, by putting people from same communities together, which has happened before. You know, if you speak to people, they'll say, oh, Rotherham is like Harare. Rotherham is, because a lot of Zimbabweans have been placed there, which means that people that are also not being placed by the local authority might then find that they want to live in those areas. And then it ends up creating areas where people may perceive that, oh, they're Asians, live here, or whatever. But it might be linked to that. In the past, some areas, for example, in S5, people would say, oh, there were a lot of Pakistani people there until the Roma travelers arrived, and that kind of thing. There is that perception that areas can be like that, and I think that it's part of policy. It's part of something that happens just because people want to live together. Oh, I don't know how it happens, but there is that kind of feeling. It's not always very clean or very clear cut that this area is Pakistan or this area is Somali, but maybe people tend to go where they are, where people speak the same languages, or where they can find shops and food that they like, or that kind of thing.
Okay. So in your own opinion, do you think that helps to build some form of identity or community for people who move here newly?
So, like I'm saying, in some instances, it's helpful. People feel like they're safe. They know what's happening. They know the language that's being spoken on the street. They can go to this shop and know what they will get there. And if they don't speak English very well, that can be very comforting. The things that policy makers don't think about is that sometimes people come to this country for different reasons. And some of them might be to flee political conflict or that kind of thing. And just assuming that, oh, Ethel is from Zimbabwe, she might feel safe in Rotherham. Might not be the thing. I might not feel safe amongst other Zimbabweans. So it's that kind of thing where there needs to be a discussion, and people should go where they want to go. But you're right that it might make people feel safer, like a safe space. I know what is happening around me. So, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So, what do you value about the people in Sheffield?
The diversity, this drive to make it work, because Sheffield, the schools, anywhere you go, they will talk about how many languages are spoken in each school in different parts of Sheffield, and that kind of thing. But that's not people talking about it in a way that, oh, what shall we do about it? It's a problem. People always talk about it with pride. You know, like in my school, we are doing so well. We have children from 85 countries, and we are trying to make it work. So what I value about Sheffield is this spirit that we are diverse, but we are trying to make things work. We are not giving up. Sheffield is this city where, when the far right groups march or say they're going to march, they're always outnumbered by thousands. So I'm a Sheffielder. I'm proud that that happens. Yeah. But it is a very difficult time for a lot of communities. But living in Sheffield, I cannot say I'm not scared, but I can say that I know that there are more supporters, allies than there are hateful people. And this is borne out, like I say, every time there's a protest and the far right say they're coming out. At one point there were 5 of them, and there were thousands of other Sheffielders. So that is something that I value about Sheffield, and I value how people are proud about the 7 Hills and the Peak District. And all this. So it's the joy that they find in the small things, the things that are not, you know, we don't want foreigners here or whatever, but the things like, oh, Sheffield is the great city for climbing, Sheffield is the greenest city in Europe, and that kind of thing. There's a positivity that makes me feel safe, feel welcome, feel like, although the political environment might be feel a bit oppressive and a bit unfriendly and that kind of thing, I know I'm in the right city to soldier it or to survive it.
I love the points that you mentioned. So another thing I'd like to ask is, how do you think your lived experience here in Sheffield, living here, right? How do you think immigration has affected the city or you as a person? Do you have any lived experience that is around immigration, or that you can just share? I know you said some things about how people have moved here over the years and being in certain communities, but do you have anyone in particular that you want to share?
So, before you came into the room, we were talking about lifelong learning. Yeah. And a slightly different conversation. But for me, I consider myself to be a lifelong learner, not in terms of academia, although I enjoy that, but in terms of just learning from other people's experiences. Yeah. I work a lot with women, migrant women, in that sort of cohort or community, if you will. And I learn new things all the time from these women that a lot of people might consider, oh, they've not had an education, they've not had a Western education, so they might not have anything to add to the conversations that are important today. But I learn a lot about politics, about how to preserve food, about what words mean, about different places I've never been, and that kind of thing. And I do that every Saturday when I meet the women that I work with at a conversation group. So that's how that affect my life. And I learn, like I say again, it's the small things. You know, I've learned from my Somali friends that to make your nails strong, you need to put them in henna, which is why they have the tips that are red sometimes and all this. So it's those kinds of things that might be meaningless to people, but they bring joy to me. I've moved here as a migrant. I met many people from all over the world, and I learn very small things about making my everyday interesting and positive.
Beautiful. Simply means there's so much that we can get to experience here if we're willing to open ourselves to it anyway. So what story about Sheffield do you think should never be forgotten?
What story of Sheffield should never be forgotten? I think some of what I've already said about celebrating the small things, but I think the fact that Sheffield was the first city of sanctuary, and we are still working at trying to find out what that really means and what it should look like and what the operationals of that being a city of sanctuary means are still being worked out, and people are still willing to come together and talk about it. So I think that should not be forgotten, that Sheffield has tried. Whatever it means, some people might think that it's not, it doesn't mean much or that sort of thing, but that willingness to just say we are a city of sanctuary, and we have a university of sanctuary, and we have a theatre of sanctuary, and we have a whatever of sanctuary in this city is something that I don't think should forget. As for an individual story, I'm not sure, but I kind of like, I don't know how factual it is, but I kind of like the fact that 5 racist people turned up for a march and there were thousands of people marching against them. That story should be, whether it's factual or not, you might have to go and the numbers are what I'm not sure whether they're, but they are that low. They are that low. Because of that 5, maybe 3 of them will say, no, we were not there. We were not here to do that. So we don't know.
When future generations watch or listen to this interview, what would you like them to remember?
Well, I'd like them to remember that in any generation, I've listened to my grandparents. They've told me what their parents told them or their grandparents told them. Every generation gets to a point where they think that things are very difficult, or they are reaching boiling point, or there's no, they can't see how the future can be bright, and that kind of thing. I want future generations to remember that there is hope in love, in openness, in embracing the spirit of Ubuntu. I know I'm just bringing that towards the end of your interview because that's a whole other thing. But just embracing that idea of respecting each other, respecting other human beings, respecting their ways of being. And that if that happens, then there's hope that future generations can find solutions to their problems as we are trying. I don't know if we are going to be able to save the planet or not, or that kind of thing, but people have not stopped trying. So future generations should watch this and think, we keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And I think to bring this interview to a close, I'd like you to just, say something into the Sheffield of the future, anything you can visualize, anything you can think of, just say something to the Sheffield of the future.
That is a difficult thing, but I'll say to the Sheffield of the future, it is worth everyone considering embracing the spirit of Ubuntu. We can't start again. Shall we start again?
Oh my. No, just any simple word to explain what that means.
Sorry, I shouldn't spoil your interview. Yes, so Ubuntu is about like I said before, I will simplify it to just respecting each other's way of being and learning from each other, and valuing each other as people with something to contribute to this community of Sheffield, the world, this community of people trying to find a better future. So Ubuntu is about humanity coming together to do together we can.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. It's been beautiful talking to you, and I know that all the people will watch and listen to this interview will definitely have been impacted by all you shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that our viewers can remember you.
Sorry.
Your name is
Ethel Mageda.
Ethel. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
See you around.
Bye.